Okay, so let's start with the March, the February already had been approved, so now we are going for the March minutes approval, and so everyone hyped for approving the minutes that they are. I think Chuck made a couple of, I'm sorry, Chuck made a couple of small edits and sent to Lauren earlier. I'm not sure whether Allison got that email.
I did not get that email now.
Okay,
Right,
so
do we have not approved the February minutes, is that right? According to Lauren's message from March 24th.
Yep, so he's got here that you're gonna approve, if you do February 5th. He's in the process, and the February 14th, he's in the process of that. So you're gonna either approve February 5th.
We don't have a February 5th, we have February, wait, there's
yeah,
February
2 meetings, we had 2 minutes.
and
Yeah, you had
February
two.
12th.
Then the 12th, and that's what it was, the 12th. I have the 5th here.
Okay,
Okay, so we approve the February 5th meeting then?
I put Chuck's
Yeah.
changes in the chat.
Okay,
Thank you.
and so shall we approve just the February and then wait for the changes in the, or we just approve it with the edits? If people are okay with the edits, I guess we can go also for the March minutes.
sure, I'll move it with Chuck's adjustments.
Okay, everyone hype for approval? Yes. And anyone dissenting? No? Anyone abstaining? Well, for the March, I should be abstaining. I wasn't there. So,
Say it again, Lauren. For March?
March. Yeah, he's gonna have to abstain.
Oh, you weren't there, you're saying, okay. I'll move the March minutes.
yes. So that approved then. We went abstention. That can be or no? I'm kind of confused here.
Not the March, but the February.
Oh, the February. Oh, okay. So
Yes,
let's start with the
March.
February. I'm sorry, guys. So the February 5th meeting minutes, please, raise your hand for approval. And
I thought we just did that,
I thought we did
accepting.
the 5th, it was the 12th.
okay. So now the March. Sorry, I'm all confused. Now the March one. Then the March one, though, I can.
You have to
Well,
abstain.
I have to abstain because I wasn't here.
So if it's
Yeah,
3 to
okay.
0 to 0, 3 to 0 to 1, I think that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So that approved. How about zoning now? Update from the Sony review.
Okay,
Pro-
yeah, I went to the almost a month ago because there's a meeting tomorrow. Their monthly meeting is tomorrow. I went to the planning board meeting on March 6th, and Gina was there in the room. I was over Zoom, which wasn't awful for that meeting, but wasn't great. So I'm gonna go in person like tomorrow and the rest of them, because you can't really hear who's talking. You can't really see, you can't see what is on the screen, etc. So they spent, Gina helped me out with this. The folks there included not just the planning board, but also a good collection. Janice Graham from the ZBA, Doug Ansack from the Agricultural Advisory Board, Gian Dodici. I'm sure I'm saying, did I say that right? Dodici and Nancy Munkenbeck from the Conservation Board and Marie McCrae from the Climate Smart Task Force were all there. So that, Gina, if I'm right, that larger group is going to be this zoning steering committee, right?
Yes, I believe so. Springbuck was also there.
And Spring was there representing the board, the town board, right? And so that's the group that's meeting tomorrow. They spent a lot of time looking through Nan's scope of work for the zoning rewrite, for the phase one zoning rewrite, and there was confusion. Everybody didn't have the same document. So that was, spent a lot of time on that. They very much appreciated the housing committee's notes, comments on their document, on her document. They really wanted to come up with a more specific and detailed scope of work. What is Nan gonna do for the next phase of this project? And they, let's see. Yeah, Craig and Tony both said that the housing committee did a great job on commenting. They want to set up a page on the town website relating to the zoning rewrite. So to keep the public informed on this. And tomorrow they're gonna go through a more, through the detailed scope of work and try to identify specifically what is it they want to hire her for. But they don't want, if I'm right, Gina, that they're not gonna go through an RFP, right? They're not gonna go solicit proposals from other people, other firms, because it's obvious that she's already put a ton of work into understanding the town and the existing zoning. It'd be a waste of money and time to
And it-
hire a
yep.
firm.
It's not necessary for a consultant, is that correct, Ray? They don't
Right,
have
it's a
to go through
professional
that.
services contract, so they really went to the RFP last year to do the audit portion, and we had like 7 different applicants, so that was the vetting, and everyone's real comfortable working with this firm, CPEA, going forward.
Right, good.
So Gina, did that cover it well enough? It was, again, it was a little confusing from
Right.
not being able to hear everybody that well.
Yeah, there was some dissension within the ranks, like microphone here, about whether the scope was sufficient, whether it was detailed enough, whether it had the duties sufficiently outlined so that to prevent any future conflict about it.
Mhm.
But in the end, the dissenters -1 voted to give that contract to the town board.
And tomorrow night's meeting will focus on doing that next step down product of a more focused scope. So a draft has been circulated, and that'll be, augmented with the discussion tomorrow night. And that'll be Exhibit B of the Nance contract.
All right.
So that is the update. I don't think any other of the advisory boards went through and made the comments like we did.
Yep.
No, I think they appreciated the format as well. I remember we had talked about that a while ago, whether it was a good format, and I think they liked that format and would like the other advisory committees, boards to do the same thing.
Really? Oh. Can we still do that? What is the timeline for this, for start the actual rewriting of the process? Do you know?
Well, I'd say it's begun, and hopefully the deliverable is by the end of the calendar year to actually pass amendments to the zoning law.
Okay. All right.
So it should be at the town board, by October, November.
Very good. So then there is another meeting tomorrow then, right?
Yep.
Okay. Is the meeting happening at town hall?
Town hall, yep,
Okay. What time is the meeting?
6 o'clock.
6. Okay.
And the Zoom link is on the town board, the planning board's website, so anybody can watch.
Yep.
Or presumably even go physically if they want, but they, that's available. The agenda is very skeletal. There's not much in the agenda.
Okay.
They also, and I think this is also for Nan, want her to help draft zoning around battery storage and data centers and or crypto mining facilities. That's kind of from scratch because there's nothing in the zoning right now about it. And if with your all permission, I'm gonna not involve myself in those discussions. I hope somebody, I'll trust other people to do the right thing on those issues. Since, you know, it's not about housing.
That makes sense.
Okay, so Mike, would you give us a little update on the ESRA project? You know, how is it going?
Well, I've met the consultants. They seem very experienced that they've done 5 or 6 of these, either DRI or New York Forward grant. And the state representative.
Mike, you're talking about the grant, not Ezra Village?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought he asked about.
ESRA, yeah, Village.
Oh, Ezra? Oh. He's, at this point, he's going to do some testing of the soil, and he thinks he's going to find a lot of gravel.
Okay.
And if he does, that's going to make a big boon for him because he has to make some locations where the water can sit and percolate as opposed to going off the, you know, as flood water. And the gravel will be good for that. And also the gravel, he thinks he's going to be getting into a load of it, and he can use that for building the streets and other things into concrete for the sidewalks. So he's very pleased about that. And he said he was going to do it Tuesday or Wednesday. So haven't heard from him. He'd say he'd let me know when the results came in. So it could be Thursday, but he's very optimistic about that, and that looking forward to moving forward. And we're still dealing with the DEC and the health department aren't exactly willing to sign on for 48 or 72 apartments until we have controlled our I&I. We've been doing better with that, and we have priced out the loan for getting our share of the grant for doing the sewer and water. And so hopefully within a month or so, we will start working on the I&I problem. And we hope to have some good results that they will allow us to go ahead next spring. Whether we have it all solved or not, we will be going ahead on it. And he can do stuff ahead of time. You know, he can put in the water lines inside and the sewer lines inside his property. So he can do that type of stuff. And he hasn't talked about doing that yet, but my gut reaction is he probably will, before the fall, he will do some of that, so that when the spring comes, he gets putting up a building, he can maybe get it done and open up the 24 or 48 section next year. But
Okay. Mike, where does it stand in the village PDA approval process? Do they have a fully approved planned development area?
no, they have to come up with that.
Okay.
They haven't done that because at one point they were going out on Mott Road, and now they're going to come out on Old Freeville Road or 390. Excuse me, something with my back here. The highway 38 in front of the high school. And you do have a good point that I've mentioned to him that he needs to do it. He says they've been working on that aspect, and they did come up with a plan for the water and sewer to basic extent what they're doing with it. And it's kind of their, they have to come up with the plan, and they haven't yet. So they're going to have to start moving on that if they're going to really do something next spring.
Mm-hmm.
But-
Have you talked about any timeline? Are they, trying to get in preliminary documents this summer for approval in the fall, or?
No, we haven't discussed that. I haven't been pressuring him on that because of the fact that we're still hung up with getting DEC and everybody else's approval to do it. And he is
Mhm.
making progress, and good point. You brought back to my attention that I should talk to him about getting that done. Which is a
Okay.
good point, because it doesn't happen in a day.
Right.
Yep. And also a lot of other investments are being made, with the sidewalk project and,
Yeah,
I'm also trying to push DOT into thinking about the reconfiguring the intersection with Bahar Drive at TC3. And so these are all in support of an Ezra Village, and
oh, yeah,
I feel like
definitely.
the community is getting more investment in it than the developer is.
I think he's getting ready to start to catch up. He also lost probably 3 or 4 months concentration on anything. His father had a bad heart attack, and he was in coma for 3 weeks, and he's been slowly recovering. So he spent a lot of time with that, and he seems to be now, his dad's home and doing stable, and so he's more gung-ho.
Let me see.
All right.
Right.
Mike, are you saying you hope to do is it water and sewer work next spring for the village?
I don't know. I would think that we could maybe get the water done before then, because the water doesn't, other than the money and going after it. So if we could do it, that good bid and everything else, we'd try to do that now. But the other is, part of the problem is that the DEC kind of looks like, have you broken the records? And so far this year, we have not gone over the 600,000 on a monthly rate, and hoping that it stays that way, and that also we can justify with the work we're doing, and where we can say we took out 50 manholes that have, like 2 or 3, 5 gallons of water coming, and then we caught these other spots, so that they would kind of go with this tentatively to give us a permission to go ahead. And so we haven't really talked about that with them, because we've been doing some more research on where we found places where there was water and things. And also we wanted to get to the point where we had the grant money in our hand and had a proposal what we're going to do. And then we're going to sit down with both of them and say, this is what we're going to do, and what we want to do, and this is what we're trying to accomplish this year. And but since I don't have any details on that, I thought it was premature to sit down and talk with them. And we're working on developing the plan and how we're going to go about it.
Is there an engineering firm or finance? Who do you?
MJ, what do you call it? MRV is doing it.
MRB, they're the engineering firm.
Yeah.
Okay. But you also said you had to finance the village's part of the grant. The grant was
Yeah.
3.5 million, but the full cost is, how much is the
Okay.
grant?
The grant is, the program is a 3.6 to 2.2 or something is for the sewer, and 1.4 or something is for the excuse me, is for the water. And we have gone and worked with our people that do municipal solutions to go for getting the money. And we're going to be borrowing 1.8, which is our share. And that we're working on bringing that through the process and have tentative costs it's going to do and everything else. And we hope that we will make progress on that, because they've given us the data. But hopefully in April's meeting, we'll go and say, okay, this is what we're going to do and what we want to do to get the money. And
Is 1.8 your match for the 3.6?
yeah, it's 50-50. So it's 3.62 and it's 1.81 that we're borrowing. So in essence, we probably have to borrow the whole amount, but that part we have to pay back. It's maybe the word I should word it. We'll have a bridge for 3.62, but the actual borrowing or bond will be in the 1.82 range.
The full cost of the project is 3.62.
Right.
So half of it is coming from the village. And half from the grant.
Okay.
That,
So the grant from the state is 1.8.
Right.
Okay. All right. Got it, I think. And on the DOT conversation about the northern entrance and the intersection at the traffic light, up near the Book Barn or by the
Yeah.
the farm store.
Yeah.
I had to call him last week about an issue with a tenant on Dryden Road in Varna. And we ended up talking also about this whole project. He talked about working with the Book Barn and buying a piece of their parcel that's close to Mott Road, and then using that to sort of redesign the intersection. Has he talked about that with you?
I brought it up to him.
Okay. Great.
Because I don't want to wait until the gentleman who owns that is not in great health and we want to do something before. And so it sounds like he's taken the initiative to start looking into it and trying to do it.
Okay.
Because the thing with Dietrich is they don't want to have their people have to walk through the road. If the road comes straight through, to get to their sheds or anything else. And so the solution would be, and I said that he could sell off a part of it or buy the whole thing and let him live there. So it sounds like he's looking into that.
Okay. Another piece was that I asked him about geothermal. And and he did mention the gravel, that he was excited about. It seemed that the soil had included a whole lot of gravel. And he even said that that'll help deliver the rents, lower rents at the rent levels that they want. So he sees that as a big enough value that it's really going to bring his cost down. So I hope
Yes.
that's true. But I said, a geothermal system for this whole neighborhood, the big problem and cost of geothermal is digging up a property that's already crowded and that already has structures on it. He's in a perfect position, an enviable position to be able to do geothermal heating and cooling for the whole project.
That would be great.
Yeah, and he has he had been thinking about solar. I said, solar is not geothermal,
No, it's not going to be the solution.
It's
He's
not
already-
the
he
same
pumps them.
thing. Those are two different things.
Yes.
I didn't say this, but if he has room for enough solar, he could even cover the electricity to run the geothermal system. So at any rate, I reminded him about the county's staff person who runs the Business Energy Advisors Program,
Mhm.
which, she and I talked at least a year ago, maybe more, about this project, and they did connect a long time ago. He hadn't been in touch with her, and I said, please do be in touch with her. Now's the time to start planning that. So he said he would. He said he would call her. So among the other things, if you want to, when he comes in for the PDA approvals, ask him if he's going to do geothermal. There's no reason not to do it.
Yeah, it's the only thing that I was thinking why when people suggested it, that he'd have to build it to the capacity of when the place developed, and some of the buildings wouldn't be for 5 or 6 years, but he'd have all the money invested in the thermal thing. I don't know how much.
I'm not sure that's true.
Okay, I don't know. That's
Yeah, I
fine.
mean,
I don't know anything about it.
If you think about he's going to have blocks of apartments. I mean,
Oh,
you
yeah,
know,
he's got,
he has plenty of room around each block. But he needs to think about it at the beginning of the process.
yeah,
So,
before he starts putting anything in the
yeah,
roads.
I don't think he would have to build the whole loop field
Oh,
until,
when they talk about it, I thought the goal was to build just one thermal thing, or however you pronounce it correctly, as opposed to multiple small ones. And I don't know. And
Yeah.
you're right, you should be talking to, maybe I should be talking to them so I can push them like I pushed them for some other things.
I can
He's
ask
been very
Haley,
cooperative. He's a good guy that way.
I can ask Haley to call you
Okay.
to let you know. Okay,
Okay.
happy to do that.
All right. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Martha.
Great.
Funding is the next question. And Chuck put together a series of, I guess, theme questions for us to think about, and maybe to focus on, I guess, a set of research questions for a potential grant application to the county. So, is there a point that we go through each of them, or just simply talk about in general or just focusing on one of the particular things that he listed here that I think that may be important, or we have other things to consider?
Well, are there any ideas up front? I mean, is there anything? Remember, the county money is $10,000.
I know. It's just the $10,000 is for somebody to actually, research the things that we want them to research. I don't think it's going to pay for anything else. So I'm not sure where there is a study on the, land, underutilized land in our town that belongs to the town, for example. I have no idea. I think he is asking these questions, like that, and my understanding that we don't have much of that. The only one that we really had was the one behind the town hall. Is that true, Ray?
Yeah, I'm not aware of any, unless you want to talk about the Cornell lands, that's the largest pot of land.
Was there any follow-up with them after we had the conversation?
Yeah, I forwarded on, Gina made some nice concise maps showing some of their major holdings, and then I forwarded that on to Jeremy. This is right at the Christmas time, so I at some point I'll ping him and try and get the discussion going again. But that was the ask then, was to look at those particular parcels and see if there was any interest in Cornell of letting loose or undertaking the development themselves.
Okay.
So you sent him, I do remember that, you sent maps and you haven't heard back from him.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what else, these are, very sort of, in my view, very broad kind of question that he's asking, and, that Shaq is actually asking. I don't know where he has any particular thing in mind. I took a look at what the connections, the links that he sent, but they're sort of broad, and I don't know to what extent they have any real immediate application to the town. I didn't pay enough time with them. So the question is, does Dryden affordable housing stand to benefit more from developers building it on site or from paying not to build on site into a fund. We do pay into a fund. We have a $50,000 every year that we, that we put into the housing, community housing fund. So I don't know what he is thinking in this sense. I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
Well, I think what he's talking about is having developers do like mitigation banking for wetlands. So instead of remediating the wetland right on their site, they pay into a fund and somebody else does the work. This would be paying into an affordable housing fund, somebody else does the work. So larger municipalities definitely use this tool. It's a nice way of placing it in an ideal environment, but again, it just adds another burden on town government to administer such a fund. And it also, it kind of hurts diversity.
Right.
Hey,
Even
Ray,
though
I
I
was
know
just
that's-
reading an article about that. I can make a few comments about it. So, a few of the actual benefits of that are that the town has more control and you can place other restrictions on the developer. For example, they have to be constructed about the same time. They have to be in the same general area. Also, the municipality and nonprofits are eligible for funding, which can actually increase your buying power with creating the housing units that the developer does not have access to. So those are a couple things that actually work out more in the favor of buying into the fund instead of creating affordable unit.
But we don't really have a lot of developers clamoring to build here. I mean, right? I mean, it's a big deal. We got Rocco involved. Park Grove has bought a piece of property in the village and they're moving as slowly as possible. INHS has one property that they're working on. It's not like the city of Ithaca and I think everything has slowed down the last few years.
Yep.
But,
Ray, I don't know about the pace and about the number of projects that actually come to fruition, but it seems like we've had several people coming in the past 6 months who want to do either PUDs or multiple houses on especially out by Hanshaw Road.
Yeah, but that would be on the scale of, 30, 40 units. Ezra Village is remarkable in that the scale is 750.
Yeah.
And there, if you're talking about a 20% component for affordable housing, there's 150 units. So, it's real sizable numbers.
Right. So is there anything that we really want to focus on if we are going for this particular source of funding from the county, is there something that people are thinking that we ought to sort of focus our attention and then go for it? So
Gina, are you saying, well, both of you, are you saying that there are enough developers that if the town required a percentage of the units to be affordable, that could be effective, that would work? And I assume that wouldn't apply to the villages, is right? Right, because the town doesn't control in the villages.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So in this zoning rewrite, there is the potential to add an affordable housing mandate in multiple family housing applications. So it comes before the town board as a special use permit. So there's already a process set up. And if there was a statute to put a formula, we could have either 10%, 20% of the units be built and have to income qualify, or we could have this idea of paying into a fund where some other developer actually executes on the affordable housing piece of it. So I think that's what, the second bullet point from Chuck is
Yep.
talking about, that study, which would be the beneficial way to go. And You know, pros and cons of each.
Mhm.
Could I diverse this a little bit? The land behind the town hall, has there been any progress on what's going on there? Have they completely eliminated? Because there's flatter part that would make good for the soccer or baseball fields, but there's on the side that it's hilly. And did they exclude the possibility of ever putting housing on those sides or anything else?
Well, the latest, I guess, RFP, yes, sort of eliminated any housing. So, yeah, and I don't know how far they have gone, even in terms of just looking at the fields and
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I have no idea. Do you know where they are at, Ray? Or Gina?
Well, Gina may have more details on this, but my understanding is that the firm that's been hired is strictly designing ball fields, and they're really limited to I think it's about 7 acres near the town hall. Because the wetland delineation basically put wetlands in a straight line across the parcel that really precludes accessing some of these hillside areas that we originally thought might be great for housing. So it
So-
seems like a very constrained effort right now just to get a couple of ball fields near the town hall.
Wait, you
Okay.
said that the wetland designation, say that again, Ray, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
There was a continuous wetland that went
Yeah.
pretty much across the east-west line, just a few hundred yards north of town hall. So that's the obstacle to getting to any of the rest of the land. So it really made the focus of the whole area, of the whole development effort into that 7 acres right by the parking lot. And that's being designed for a couple of ball fields. Is that correct, Gina? Is that the status of that project? I haven't been at any of those meetings.
Yeah, so the last that I heard, they were waiting for the designs from the developer CHA, but they had not submitted anything yet. So that was on the 25th. So they were
Okay.
still waiting, and I haven't gotten any updates, so I'm assuming they've not gotten those designs yet. But it's my understanding that they're concentrating on the ball fields, and I think their budget precludes a lot more than that. I think it's even precluding like restrooms on the site. That's my understanding. Did you hear that, Ray?
I haven't seen any design details now.
no, I
Well, I
just,
haven't seen it. It was just in a conversation.
Mhm.
I think Marty told me that the budget was not big enough for them to put in the restroom.
I guess at one point, somebody had talked about another place along the stream or the trail was some property that somebody said we should develop as a recreational. It was closer going towards Ithaca. Is there viable area there? You talked about the $10,000 grant. See if they could do something with that for more, what do you call it, playfields there? Because,
The housing, the money from the county is strictly for housing.
oh, it's about housing, okay. Okay, well, they usually have unless they did it this year, they usually have a 5,000 for recreational, but maybe they've done that. Okay,
I'm not sure if that's still going on. Maybe there's not.
you know. Okay, so I mistook myself. I can understand why they want to do the fields first, but I still, when you said that because of the water train or something, right below the town hall is very hilly and could be built on, but you're saying that's precluded because to the right of her or the center more is more water or more the something? Because I can't see they're going to level that area up to make it a playfield.
Mhm. I think that's what's being contemplated.
To level up, okay. Well,
Mhm.
So who's our representative? Do we still have a representative to the group or
No,
not?
we don't.
Because housing's not part of it.
Yeah. Well, they have their own client.
yeah, no,
Well,
Since
I'm still
housing
being
was not,
included in,
since housing was not included in the final RFP, then there was no need for us to be.
A representative,
Yeah.
makes sense.
but I'm still on their email list for what's going on, so I can update whenever I find anything out.
So is also, originally Housing and Conservation Board were the two boards that were having a liaison. Are
Yeah.
both of them now out of the effort?
Yep. That's what I understand. I don't know.
It's Craig Shoot, is it Shoot or Shut? What is
Yep,
he on?
Scott. Yeah, I don't know who the Conservation Board assigned to the effort.
Okay, well, he is on their email list, and so is Craig Anderson and myself.
I
Okay.
think the conservation board should still be involved if wetlands are the issue, I guess.
Yeah,
I think they're
although
trying
I
to
think the
avoid
new
all the-
area is totally staying out of the wetlands, so that's one of the constraining pieces.
So your question, Mike, no, there's no housing coming up behind the town hall.
Okay, so I just, it's so expensive to level it with big equipment to get it flat. I just thought that they were not going to touch that, but it sounds like it's high enough that it's not in the water flow, bad water area.
I have no idea, but apparently there is not even a bathroom included in the, in the RFP. So I don't know. Anyway, so
Thanks for keeping us up to date on it as things happen, Gina.
thank you. So then we don't have a real, sort of focus on, housing to pursue a grant, unless, at this time. For research.
That $10,000, we had talked about one time that there's several places closer to Ithaca or closer to the NYSEC that could be developed as areas for housing, is if you brought water or sewer over there. The $10,000, if it's not getting used, is it something that they could use the town to see which area would be more available or appropriate or costly to try to develop that area down there? That, because I remember you guys talked about a couple different spots, and I geographically don't know, but I remember 6 months, a year ago, we were talking about, if we ever developed and we get water and sewer out there, we could get a bunch of housing there, but there's no water and sewer out there. And you're looking for using the $10,000. I don't know. Is that something where it could be used to investigate which one's the most likely one to try to get somebody interested in developing it or something?
Well, that's an interesting idea. The recent discussions concerning the NYSEG intersection are, this is probably 4 years ago now, the county and town went together to get an infrastructure study out there, and, TG Miller has got it, about 2 seconds away from hitting the send button, but still haven't got it yet. But they just have to refresh the numbers. That's how long it's been since they've touched it. But hopefully we'll have that piece of data here soon. Also, I have made contact with the owner of the Leonardo parcel, that 100 acres between NYSEG and Etna. And it's tied up in the courts right now as to who exactly has ownership of it, but there's some potential movement on that finally. But as I say, the half owner that I am in touch with now, she's still trying to get full title to the parcel. So yeah, there's some studies to be done there, but I'm trying to get most of that done by the actual landowner there. And I have put them in touch with INHS as a potential partner in the development, so that there would be some local expertise and an affordable component.
Hmm.
So that initial meeting went well.
Good. Very good.
But the main hitch is it's stuck in the court for ownership.
But that's really good progress. You said, so you reached the woman and is, and she's interested in, I get, like, selling it and letting housing go up on it?
Well, she's first of all interested to see if she could develop it. And that's why I was trying to get her in partnership with INHS, because they could do some of it and then she could do another component of it, but they would have at least an anchor piece of that parcel.
Okay.
Well, that would be fantastic. Huh?
But a lot hinges around, if the utilities could be extended, because obviously the density difference is pretty phenomenal. With sewer and water, we could probably contemplate 400 units out there. But if it's just going to go with septic, then it's, probably 50 units.
You're saying T.G. Miller, I thought they finished that.
Hmm.
That big smile.
Ed Marks was still planning commissioner when we started that.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
It's going to be the next great novel. It's
Don't ever hire them again. That's crazy. All right. But I guess because we're waiting for the court and this owner to sort things out, it's not the end of the world if we don't have that. So their question was, the question to T.G. Miller was to, like, what would it cost to bring water and sewer from the sort of Pinckney Road district over to the
Right.
Leonardo parcel?
Yep.
Okay, and
Or
that's
to Edna is a bigger scope focus area.
all the way to Etna.
Yep.
Okay,
Or at least out into this vicinity. I mean, we didn't want to focus it on a single private parcel. We want to see a servicing this area.
okay. All right, well, when you get them finally to hit send,
Mhm.
maybe they can come in and talk about it with us.
Yep. I won't take as long to hit the forward button. Don't worry.
That's great. That's great. Well, why don't you tell them that this, like, we need to apply for a housing grant, for a grant from the city, from the county, but we're waiting for their numbers. I mean, if
Mhm.
somebody has an external deadline, that sometimes can help.
Yep.
Because in fact, that would be a good way to spend some money, which would be to say, okay, if assuming you could do this kind of infrastructure, what are the options for this area? And get somebody to do, conceptual design or something.
Yep. That would be the sixth fire that I've tried to light under them. So,
Okay.
sorry to be so pessimistic.
You know what, that's still progress that you've been able to make headway with the owner, the half owner. So,
Mhm.
okay, good. I mean, I think, that's the idea here. It's like a $10,000 grant it would be sufficient to hire a consultant to do a conceptual design or to study, what's the potential in a certain area. We do still have the IAED water and sewer project study that was done that was updated a couple years ago.
Mhm.
I mean, that's the basis on which we kind of said to Cornell that there's a lot more water and sewer available in different places than is being used.
Mhm.
So
When is the deadline for this grant? The grant deadline,
when the money is used up.
it's just that. So
I mean, they do it every year, and in the past have put $25,000 into this account. And if municipalities do apply for it, if two apply for $10,000, then the third applicant can only apply for $5,000.
Right.
It's a rolling thing. There's no deadline. If we got the applications are open now. It opened up in March. So we could apply at any time.
If we have something to apply for.
If we have something to apply for, yeah. I mean, it might be worth really to focus on that whole NYSEG, area and have somebody look at what the capacity is as it is right now. There's a lot to juggle because you've got the wetlands and conservation areas, et cetera. And you want setbacks from the industrial area and the substation. But it might be really nice to see what somebody creative could do with say the area from just west of NYSEG all the way to Etna Road.
Mhm.
Is that enough for get money for somebody to do the research? Is it something we want to do? Is that a question enough? I mean,
Well,
Yeah, I would think 10,000 would be a substantial planning effort for, what's really just a square mile of area.
And
But
also,
also the Route 13 study that was done like in 2005 or 2007 by the county has a little bit of a concept plan for this very particular parcel between Fall Creek and Route 13 and NYSEG and Etna.
and another consideration is like, we got $5,000 further for our CDBG. We had to put some extra money on top of it. But it's an incentive when you go to the board and say, well, we got 10 and we need another 5. Don't you want to contribute from the town 5,000 to the 10,000 you're getting? And or maybe you can do it with the 10, but I'm just saying it's I don't know that any other community is more proactive than the town that's going after that type of grant money. So I'm not sure you're gonna have a lot of competition for it.
Well, there are 16 municipalities in the county. They all have different irons in the fire. Ray, you remind me of the Route 13 study. Maybe if we pull that up and focus on that part of the study, and then look at the IAED water and sewer study. Maybe we could refresh our minds about that and, sort of see what info is available and then pull together a proposal for somebody to use those 2 reports plus the TG Miller report
Mhm.
and come up with a concept plan.
Okay. Do you want me to send those reports out to this group again?
Yeah.
Yep.
More homework. But I think that's the only way to, to get something done is to look at what we already have.
okay. So that will be our point for item for conversation next month.
Mhm. Okay.
Okay.
Something else I also wanted to report to this group is if you remember back in 2023, the Hanshaw Village Mobile Home Park was seeking to replace their sewer system.
Yep.
And so, but they dropped that effort at the last minute. They had partnered with the town to get CDBG grant. Well, now they have come back to the table. They say they have the resources to do it now. So that effort is being
Oh,
reinvigorated, and probably for the CFA this year, we'll try and put in for a CDBG grant for extending sewer, which is on the south side of Route 13 right now at Hanshaw. So this would extend it up Hanshaw, probably only a mile, but they would be the primary customer of this district extension. Or actually, it would probably be a new district. So all the debt for that effort would be borne by just that district. If it's an extension, then everybody within the district would be sharing the debt service, and we just want to make sure everything is fairly well focused on just the mobile home park.
that's good.
So this would be to extend the sewer.
Yep.
Well, that's really interesting and really good news. Now that means, but that reminds us of the Cornell land just to the east of that.
Mhm. Yep.
So, I mean, maybe if they go ahead and apply, then that sort of sweetens the pot for Cornell if it actually comes to pass, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Hmm.
So,
So I certainly mentioned that to the real estate office, to Jeremy and his staff. But, part of getting the CDBG money is you have to income qualify. So bringing the Cornell project in is not going to help in that regard.
okay. So, this means that the owners, it was like something like $1 million they would have to put up themselves, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right, that's terrific. Does the health department know about this?
Oh, yes, definitely. Because the health department is dealing with the water side, and they are also a struggling system. They've been under boiled water orders numerous times over the last few years.
Mhm.
So that's another issue to solve. I don't know that we can get, two big projects like that going. That was my hope, and I keep on getting pushback on trying to do them simultaneously. Um, But certainly if we get the sewer one year, tackling the water the following year would make a lot of sense to make, living a lot easier for those folks.
So there's not a physical advantage to doing them at the same time?
Well, it would seem like, as far as construction teams mobilizing on site, that would be an advantage. But as far as getting the engineering support and the grant support is the part that I'm not able to get working in sync.
Hmm.
How many units are there in that park?
It's on the order of 150. It's
Good
not quite as
size.
large as Hillside Acres, but almost.
Hmm.
Well, that's good news that they want to move ahead. So this goes through the CFA process?
Yep,
So they wouldn't know until like December whether they got it, right?
right,
So maybe the work could be done next summer?
right. Yeah, we wouldn't break ground until 2026.
Okay. Everything's so slow.
Yeah.
So those residents are boiling their water?
They, usually last about a week before they find the leak and
Oh.
solve it. But yeah, it's been multiple orders over the years.
Oh, so it's not constant,
Right. It's a
okay,
sporadic thing.
intermittent, okay.
Yeah.
That's, wow, well, that's good news.
Alrighty.
Question, Ray, if they
Yep.
do get the grant and bring the sewer and eventually the water, would there be potential that the place would grow bigger to have more than 150 units?
Yeah, certainly that's potential.
Okay.
And going all the way up Hanshaw would, this would be a major extension for the sewer and water systems.
So other people could develop along the line at once it's
Yeah.
there.
Yep.
Craig used to talk about the land to the immediate west of Hanshaw Road. Is that town land?
No.
Okay. I know he saw it as an opportunity. I couldn't remember if it was town land.
Yeah, there's a lot of Cornell lands on that side of our town.
Okay. Anything else? We have a short-term rental sort of item that perhaps we can also add to the next meeting. Martha, you have something?
Yeah, I wrote to Nick Helmholt this morning or last night, of the files that he sent us, I could only open one, so that didn't really help. But I can ask him to come to the meeting next month if you think we should do that.
Okay.
Would that be okay? Should I do that?
Do we want to have that conversation? Is that the question?
Yeah, I mean, maybe if next meeting, we're gonna talk about the NICEAG corner.
And the application item.
And a grant application, maybe maybe there'll probably be more information and more to chew on about the zoning rewrite. Maybe we don't need to add
Another item.
short-term rental next month, but maybe the month after.
Okay. I agree with that.
Okay,
Okay, if we don't have anything else to, we are done for today. All right. Good to see you guys.
all right, thank you. And Gina, thank
Good.
you for that article about language, and I started reading it out, but appreciate that. That's
And
Good,
thank
thank
you
you.
for the article in the New York Forward grant too. Thank you for sending me that.
Yeah, good. Yeah.